It's very loud. Okay, so last session, time goes very fast. And we're gonna look at page 19. This is a song from chapter 23 of the 100,000 Songs of Milarepa. It's entitled The Later Visit to Vajra Fortress, Part 1. Because there's a subsequent story. So let's look at the story. After the master Jezun and his disciples spent time at and circumambulated Tise Snow Mountain. Kang Tise, the Tise Snow Mountain actually is Mount Kailash. Okay, Mount Kailash. So they circumambulated Mount Kailash, which is a very holy mountain. It's said to be the palace of Chakasambara and one of the main deities of the Kaju. And it is the Hindus believe that that's where Shiva, is it Shiva? Shiva. Yeah, Shiva resides. Yeah. They again went to Vajra Fortress in Gutang. At that time, the students from before came to meet Milarepa. Inquiring after the Jezun's health, they asked, "Are you well?" So everybody asked, "How are you?" Extremely well. Are you all well? He replied. Thanks to the kindness of the Guru, we have had no poverty, no any sickness or death among us. So these people know what to be thankful, who to be thankful to, Like I said this morning, whatever well-being, witness, whatever resources that we are able to gather to allow us to have a comfortable life and conducive conditions for whatever we want to engage, and especially in practice, we need to owe it to our teachers. So they are saying the same thing, due to the kindness of our Guru, we have no poverty, no any sickness or death among us. We are so pleased that the Guru has been able to circumambulate Tise, Mount Kailash, without any obstacles and has met us here. Guru, please tell us of the way in which you are so happy. I'll come again. They want to know why he's so happy. The Jezun replied, "This is how I'm happy." Then he sang this song of realization on the 12 kinds of yogic happiness. Then he begins to sing, like a criminal who is free from his dungeon pit, the yogi who has abandoned his homeland is happy. I think the homeland can be understood in two aspects. The physical homeland, which is his home, where he came from. He's abandoned that in order to seek the path of liberation. But I think the other, or the deeper meaning to that homeland is that fixation on that which is I, The homeland is like our home base, Everything we do is based on that. Everything we do is based on me and my and mine, That's like a home base. And we live our lives based on that. But he said, I have abandoned that. That is why I'm very happy. Like a fine horse who has been released from chains, the yogi free of perceived or perceiver is happy. So the bondage that we have, the bondage that we create for ourselves in the cyclic existence, the samsara as we call it, is because we are very attached to this self, this idea of the self that we have created for ourselves. There has never been a real self from the very beginning of time. has never been one, but we create this so-called self. And we're bound to that self, that idea of self. So that becomes a chain that chains us to all sorts of, birth and death cycle and all sorts of happiness and suffering. And he says now the yogi, who is Milarepa himself, I am free of perceived or perceiver. Because when there's no the perceiver, who is this I, then there's no perceived. When I'm beyond these two, the duality of perceiver and perceived, I'm very happy. And we might wonder, well, if there's no perceiver, then how can there be happiness? There's no I to feel that happiness. I think we touched on that subject this morning as well. The I is still there, but that I is not the kind of I we think of. There is the mind still exists, the body still exists, relatively speaking. So even though there's no attachment to a solid and real self, relatively speaking, there is still this body, which we call I. There's, relatively speaking, there's still this mind, which we call the mind or my mind. So the body and mind can still have perception and sensation, and can have a feeling of happiness and sensation of happiness, of being happy. And that can be perceived without the idea or the fixation idea of there being truly an I. I think that's possible. Like an animal who has been wounded stays where she is, the yogi who stays all alone is happy. Of course, he's not saying, he's a wounded animal, of course not. But, he is like someone or an animal that is just staying put, and in his mind, that is the happiest of all, without being disturbed. Like the king of birds who soars in the sky. I don't really know what the king of birds is. Is it Garuda? Anybody knows? Probably. I don't know. The yogi who has resolved in the view is happy. And the view, there's of course, I think I mentioned this morning, there's the view of what's the relative, the view of cause and condition and result, the view of karma, and all related, 12 links of interdependence and so on and so forth. These are what we call the relative view, the view of the relative existence. And then there is the view of emptiness, which is the nature of all that's relatively existing. And so he says, I have resolved, I have come to a resolution of what the view is. Through his own practice and his own realization, he has no doubt about the view, about either the relative or the ultimate view. So he's happy. Like the wind that moves throughout the sky, the yogi without any obstruction is happy. When the mind has been free from the bondage of the I, the self, then whatever one engages in is without obstruction. So he's happy. Like a shepherd who cares for his flock of white sheep, the yogi who sustains his experience of clarity, emptiness, is happy. So you might think, why does the experience of clarity, emptiness need to be sustained? Once you have realized the nature of the mind, doesn't it just, don't you just stay in that experience? Why does it need to be sustained? And this has to do with meditation and post-meditation. Because in meditation, you're able to naturally, remain in a state of emptiness, luminosity, inseparable. But when you come out of meditation, it is possible, depending on your level and the depth of your realization, it is possible to not be able to maintain that because you are thinking of this and that. You may have to do things, and that becomes some sort of a distraction. Your mind may be preoccupied. So that is why we have the 10 bodhisattva levels. The first level, bodhisattva, there is realization, and that realization is not different from the 10th level bodhisattva. It's the same. But the ability to maintain that state of realization varies. So first level, maybe not so much. Second level, a little more. And then when you get to the 10th level, you're pretty much able to maintain that realization, that state of clarity, emptiness, all the time, 24/7. So that's the difference. And actually, when you get to the 10th, you pretty much don't need to maintain it. It's always there, And when you get to Buddhahood, then it's a perfection of that. So it's like the example that Kimbokara Rinpoche used to use. It's like seeing the moon. When you get to the first bodhisattva level, you see the sliver of the moon, but it is the moon. Even though it's not the full moon, but you do see the moon. When you get to the 10th level or the Buddhahood, then you see the whole moon. But what's been seen by the first level and the Buddha is the same, which is the moon. Okay? So you still, once you have experience or realization, you still need to continue to practice in order to maintain and increase that clarity emptiness. So it's like herding a flock of sheep. Like Mount Meru, the central king of mountains, the yogi who is free of movement and change is happy. So movement and change, I don't think it means anything physical. It's not like his body is free of movement and change. He does get old and he does move about. I think here he means, the movement and change of the state of the nature of the mind. That doesn't change. It has always been there and will always remain the same. And the difference is made when he realizes it. The state of mind has always been clarity, emptiness, and bliss, but has not been realized, had not been seen. And once there is realization, that is clearly seen and experienced, and that will never change. Next, he says, like the flowing of a great vast river, the yogi with unbroken flow of experience is happy. So that experience of the nature of the mind is unbroken, is an unbroken flow. So obviously he's saying he's the 10th level bodhisattva because it's unbroken. It's not on and off, whether he's on the cushion meditating or he's off the cushion doing other things. That flow of that experience of the nature of mind has never been broken. So he's happy, he says. Like a human corpse in a charnel ground, the yogi who abandons activity is happy. You might say, what? Corpse in a charnel ground? It's just an analogy, and he's just saying the corpse does not, unless they're a zombie, otherwise the corpse does not do anything, right? And so when he says the yogi who abandons activity, I think he refers to the fact that whatever he does, he's still doing things, right? He's still going places and things like that, or meditating. When he says, I have abandoned activity, it means that whatever he does is spontaneous. He's not intentionally doing something or intentionally acting like something or saying something. Everything is just completely spontaneously flowing out of his enlightened mind, or we can say his mind, simply. Then, like a stone that's thrown into the ocean, the yogi who doesn't turn back is happy. So the stone that's thrown into the ocean, of course, it's hard to bring it back, hard to find it back. And that means, I think he's referring to his own attainment. The attainment, what's called non-regression. He will never fall back to samsara. He's at a stage where, or at a level where he will never, ever, there's not a hair's breadth of chance that he will ever turn back to samsara. Okay, then next line says, like the sun that shines up in the sky, the yogi who illuminates everything is happy. And that illumination, as we have seen over and over, that illumination, that luminosity, comes from the mind itself. Like a palm tree sheared of all its leaves, the yogi without any later birth is happy. Again, because he's already transcended samsara, he will never fall back to samsara. And if he takes birth, it is by his wish, his aspiration, and it's intentional. So he's never ever going to take birth out of karma, out of the forces of karma, or out of control. That's what it means. He may take rebirth. There are great teachers nowadays, that are emanations, incarnations of Milarepa. So he does take rebirth, but it's not the same kind of rebirth as ordinary beings. May these 12 kinds of yogic happiness be a Dharma gift for all of you students in answer to your question. Thus he's saying, then the students departed with great faith. So he has so many things to say about happiness. That everything is a cause for happiness. Everything as it is already happiness. There's nothing that is not happiness, inside and out. So we hope to reach there, not for our own purposes, but for the sake of all sentient beings. Any questions? Yes, please.
Lama, I've always been thought that experience was sort of a relative word for understanding, that then there's realization and then enlightenment. I just wonder why they use the word experience instead of saying realization.
Yes, it's a good question. Yes, it's true. There's, like I think I mentioned it yesterday, there's 3 levels. There's intellectual understanding, and then and a step up is experience. Experience is not it's not the kind of experience that we normally understand. It's not like, oh, I've experienced going somewhere, I know what it's like, or I've experienced falling asleep, I know what falling asleep is like. It's not like that. What we call experience in Tibetan is called nyam. Although nyam, the word nyam also means just exactly experience. But nyam is never used in a ordinary sense in Tibetan. It's only used for Dharma, the Dharma, the Dharmic experience. And that Dharmic experience is associated with practice. In other words, you cannot have an experience without practice. And that experience always has something to do with getting close to realization. You're on your way to realization. And so there are little moments where, it seems like it's corresponding to realization. And so there can be a huge variety of experiences. It doesn't have to be exactly the experience associated with the mind. It can be many different experiences, but they're all pointing to realization. You could still be a long way to realization and enlightenment. Realization and enlightenment are actually two words that are referring to the same thing, actually, in the way we use it. Yeah. Realization is enlightenment. Because when you realize what your mind truly is, then you're enlightened. And that realization is not mental, it's not conceptual, it's not intellectual, it's not experiential. It's not just an experience. It is a direct realization that no other word can replace. So it may not be a good word, because realization usually is associated with conceptual kind of, understanding. But in the case of the Dharma, realization is enlightenment. And enlightenment is beyond any kind of physical, mental, conceptual, intellectual experience. It is beyond all that. It is beyond the mind, the conceptual mind. It's just direct. We can say it's a direct experience of what the mind is, but it's not an conceptual experience, because it's beyond experiencer and what's experienced. So that's enlightenment or realization. And the experience is still, it's in between intellectual understanding and enlightenment. So why it's called experience? Because it still has to do with your kind of conceptual experience. You're experiencing that. There's still an experiencer. So that's not enlightenment. But you're getting there. Maybe still far, you maybe just started, maybe you're very close, you don't know, but you're getting there.
Jan has a question on that.
Okay.
Thank you. Lama Lodro, earlier in your teachings, you said that Martha put Milarepa through a lot of austerity. And I'm just wondering, these are songs of joy, but I'm wondering with Gampopa and Rinpoche and other disciples, was there an expectation that austerity would be a path, on the part of Milarepa, as he was teaching or imparting his wisdom to these students? Is austerity part of the expectation there?
Yes, definitely. In every song, just about, he would say, "Go and practice like I do."
Mm-hmm.
I've asked Khenpo-Kata Rinpoche this question in the past. It's like, Milarepa always says, you need to go off, just in the mountains and practice solitary retreat. Is he literally telling everybody to really just do that? He says, yes.
Okay.
There's no compromise.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Could I ask a translation question?
Yeah.
There's been so much repetition in the songs of the word happy.
Yeah.
Day. And this is, which at least in English, if you translate day as happy,
Mm-hmm.
you see this like greeting yogi. This happy was sad, I guess, in my mind in English. But do you think this day is actually more like well-being or something different than how we think of happy?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been thinking about that myself. Day, the word day is translated as happy. And the title I gave for this weekend's class is joy, sounds of joy rather than happiness. That the reason I use joy is because I thought happiness is a little shallow, isn't it? So maybe joy is a little more internal, rather than like happy because things go well, Yeah, so the word in Tibetan is de. De can mean actually happy, yeah, and joyful, and I think comfortable, also is dewa is comfortable, or freedom from sickness is also devo, So it can have many different meanings. But I think in the case of Milarepa, really strictly speaking, this day should be more like blissful. It's a deeper kind of happiness and joy, and that comes not from external circumstances or causes, but really just his own mind. I think, am I correct in understanding that blissful is more internal kind of experience? Yeah. Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Okay. So if no questions, let's sing the song. Back to page 19. Mina jen dong ne ta wa xin pa yu bang be nan joy den da san jo ge jo wa xin song xian zhao wei nan joy den Jida me ma de ba xin chi bu de be nan joy de cha gyam nam pan je ba xin da wa ta chi gi nan joy de Kala gyue gi se shin todo me be nan joy den du yang ga gyo we zi wo shin nyam do sa gyo we nan joy den Vögere gyaren boşin Pogyo mebe nan joyde Chuo jianbe yun shin du Nyam gyun chen mebe nan joyde Du chen angi mi ro shin cha wan tong be nan joy de kya chen nan du do gyo shin chi mi do be nan joy de Kalani ma shawa shin Magala sawe nan joden Shingdalen no ma jeba shin Chigye wa me be nan joden Yana Judewa Junidi Kenyame Jide Jigyezu Yana Judewa Junidi Kenyame Jide Jigyezu. So he sang, then the students departed with great faith. And then part 2. Then the master Jizun and his disciples, while keeping to asceticism, all engaged in practice. When they did this, many dakinis performed the Gala Chakra, which is a feast offering, and said, Milarepa, when you are practicing the view, meditation, and conduct. So, this is the stage of practice. First you establish the correct view of what the Dharma is all about, and then you meditate on it. And then when your meditation is stable, then you need to care about your conduct, carry out your meditation in your day-to-day conduct. If you partake of just a bit of the food and clothing of humans as well as a bit of the samaya substance. Samaya substance is, samaya means vow or commitment. So it is a substance where the substance has been blessed by your commitment that you will, abide by the commitment to this particular practice, whatever practice that it is. So it is a blessed substance. So the sum of substances of the dakinis, our virtuous activity will be greatly enhanced. So they're saying, if you take a little bit of the food that's been offered in the feast, and then because you partake of it, then our activities or our merit will be enhanced. Therefore, you should partake of them. We will obtain them for you. The Jizun replied, the food and wealth of other ordinary ones cannot compare with the good qualities of experience and realization. Since I have such qualities, it is fine not to have provisions of food and wealth. Then he sang the song of realization. So this is in line with everything that he said so far. He does not need anything. And if he takes anything, it's just so that the person who offers it, can increase their virtue and their merit. So here he sings, I prostrate to the Father Guru. I, the yogi Milarepa, from within the abiding nature, will sing you a song. So again, this song is not sung from his calculating mind. Okay, this student needs to hear this, so I'll sing this. It's not like that. It's sung completely out of his spontaneous mind. He doesn't have to think. It's just a natural flow of, you can say thoughts, but maybe non-thought. I'll do a dance in the space free of true existence. Listen, assembly of mamos and dakinis. So the dance in the space of free of true existence, is kind of just a figure of speech. Dancing in that expanse, in that space, and that is free of true existence. We are attached to the idea of everything being existent, truly existent, everything that we are in, all the environment, all the universes, we think that they are truly existent. But in fact, in their nature, there's nothing that's truly existent. So when you can be free of that fixation of true, the reality of true existence, or the idea of true existence, then it's what manifests, what you achieve is that space, or sometimes called expanse, and then you can dance in it. So kind of figure, so you can dance happily in it, very, very freely, because you're free. So listen, assembly of mamos and dakinis. Mamos are more kind of wrathful female dakinis, and dakinis they have many different kinds. There are peaceful dakinis, wrathful dakinis, and the dakinis that are wisdom dakinis, and there are mundane dakinis that are not enlightened, but they're protectors nonetheless, and so on. This reliance on confidence in cause and effect is faith with which ordinary ones cannot compare. So this is talking about the relative level, the faith and belief and confidence in cause and effect, which is, infallible. Staying alone in solitary places is samadhi with which ordinary ones cannot compare. And it is true, ordinary people really would have a hard time staying for a long time, for years on end, in solitary places and in samadhi. This resting evening, free of perceiver and perceived, is view with which ordinary ones cannot compare. So he's saying all these things that I have been doing and I have accomplished are things that ordinary ones just cannot fathom. This post-meditation that is free of forgetting is meditation with which ordinary ones cannot compare. So here he's saying post-meditation that is free of forgetting is what I was saying just a moment ago. There is different levels of bodhisattvas. The realization, what they realize is the same of all the different levels, which is the nature of the mind. But, sometimes in post-meditation, you kind of get distracted. You kind of could be steered away from that nature, that your mind is not always 100% abiding in that nature. So, but Milarepa says here, I'm free of forgetting. I'm never, even during post-meditation, I'm not, forgetful. I always remain in that nature of the mind. This mindfulness without perceiver or perceived is conduct with which ordinary ones cannot compare. So previous two lines, you have the view and then the meditation, and this line is conduct. So his view, meditation, and conduct. What's his view? The view is freedom from perceiver and perceived. And his meditation is free of forgetting to remain in the nature of mind. And his conduct is, again, mindfulness, which is without perceiver or perceived. That mindfulness is actually beyond what we usually understand as being mindful. There's a mind, there's this me. I'm being mindful of what I'm doing, what I'm saying, and what I'm thinking. His kind of mindfulness is the natural mindfulness, which is already beyond perceiver and perceived. So it's constantly being mindful, but that mindfulness is beyond duality. That's his conduct. This union of compassion and emptiness is fruition with which ordinary ones cannot compare. So ordinary fruition, there's mundane fruition, mundane accomplishment, and supreme accomplishment. So he's talking about the supreme accomplishment here, which can be thought of or understood in many different aspects. That we've said this again and again already. There's the core is, of course, always emptiness, and then there's the union of compassion and emptiness, the union of luminosity and emptiness, and so on. This clothing that is free of any feeling of cold has softness and excellence with which ordinary ones cannot compare. So what he's wearing is not, the cotton cloth that he usually refers to. The clothing he's referring to here is his accomplishment of Dhammo, the inner heat. So that frees him from any feeling of being cold. So it's not something that ordinary clothing can compare. This samadhi that is without any hunger is meat and beer with which ordinary ones cannot compare. So the samadhi is his food, he can go for long periods of time without eating because he's always dwelling in samadhi and he's not hungry. So that kind of food, the food of samadhi, is not something that meat and beer and other kinds of food can compare. This drinking from the river of enlightenment is drinking with which ordinary ones cannot compare. So again, enlightenment is his beverage. Giving rise to contentment from within is food and wealth with which ordinary ones cannot compare. In the state of the natural mind, one is always content. There's no wanting. There's no need for anything. So that's better than any kind of material food and wealth. Marba Lozawa, the translator, is a siddha with whom ordinary ones cannot compare. Now he talks about his teacher, his guru, Marba, the translator. He's a siddha. Siddha means accomplished person, accomplished in the Dharma. He says, my teacher is, incomparable. No one, he has no peer. No one can compare with him. The view of one's mind as the face of the deity is the idam with which ordinary ones cannot compare. So this we have mentioned before. One's mind is the idam, is the deity. And this kind of view is not an ordinary view. So no other ordinary view can compare with this view. Either Yogi Milarepa and a meditative with which ordinary ones cannot compare. And that is, we agree. This body that's without any sickness is a doctor with which ordinary ones cannot compare. Now ordinarily when we're sick, we want to seek the help of a doctor. But he says, my body is a body that has no sickness at all. And that fact, the fact that my body does not get sick, that itself is a doctor, he said. Now listen once more, assembly of Dakinis, where nothing is clear, it is clear for me. I'm not too sure what he means, but I guess he means, with a deluded mind, nothing can be seen clearly. But since my mind is not deluded, I see everything clearly. This very luminosity is clear. So his mind, which is the luminosity itself, is very clear. Where there is no heat, I feel warm. That's his accomplishment in inner heat. This very single cloth is warm. It's good enough for me. Where there is nothing comfortable, I feel good. In the cave, in the cold winter, hard rock as his seat. Ordinary people will be very uncomfortable, but I feel comfortable. I feel good. This very illusory body feels good. Where there's no joy, I feel quite joyful. His austerity to people in general, it's like, how can that be joyful, But he says, I feel quite joyful. This very dream is so joyful. This very dream, that's everything, We are all in a dream because we are all in this relative existence where nothing is truly, abidingly, solidly existing. So it's all like a dream. But this dream to him, he says, it's very, very joyful. Because he already has acquired the ability to transform everything in the dream. This yogi here feels better and better. Is Vajra high or not? If Vajra isn't high, then how could vultures soar below? So, these lines, I'm not too sure what is meant to say. I can just read it. If the icy New Year's wind isn't great, then how could water in the mountain and valley freeze? If the garment of Chandali isn't warm, Chandali, as you remember, the inner heat, how could I feel warm with a single cotton cloth? If I don't eat samadhi for my food, how could I survive being hungry with an empty belly? If the river of enlightenment isn't drunk, then how could I survive being thirsty without water? If the Guru's instructions are not profound, then how is it obstructions and maras don't come? So he's attributing his freedom from obstructions, and maras means, obstructors, demonic obstructors. He's attributing his freedom from these obstacles to his Guru's instructions. If this yogi does not have realization, how could I wander in mountain retreats with no people? That is so true. It's not easy, and unless you have some profound experience in your meditation and practice, it can be very frightening. And since he has not only just experience, but he has realization, which means enlightenment. So he says, because I have enlightenment, I'm enlightened, I have realization, I can wander in mountain retreats with no fear. This is all due to the kindness of the wise Guru. This is not me, it's my Guru. It's all because of him that I can do all this, that I can accomplish all this. Put efforts in practicing just like this. Thus he sang, the Dakini said, what you have said is wondrous indeed. So at this point, I feel that the songs are all have the same kind of idea. So it's probably not very necessary to go on reading many of these because it's pretty much the same. But anyway, we'll see. If you can just read one song and that really, really makes a difference to you, and it changes your old view or whatever that might be, and it changes your whole perception of everything. In Tibetan it says "Nangwagyobe nuba," the power to change your perception of how things are, your perception of what the world is about, your perception of what everything is about, your perception of what your mind is. If there's just one song or one teaching or one word, one sentence that can do that, stick to it. That's all you need. Stick to it and practice it, and that's enough, really. So we fortunately have his own Karmapa singing this song on recording. So we're gonna follow him. And if you have questions, we can discuss them later. Let's first sing, because I'm excited to sing together following the recording, okay? It's a little fast, so we need to kind of speed up a little bit. The melody itself is just a little fast, so you need to be prepared. second. That was very nice, yeah. I forgot to send Steve the file of this song, so I can send you later and you can share with everyone. Yeah. This is included in the album called the Lion's Roar of Great Compassion. That was published many, many years ago. So lucky that this is the only Milarepa song that's in the album and happens to do with being happy. So we get to sing it in class. So would you like to read one more song, or this is part 1 and 2? I don't know if we have time for both parts. Let's see how long they are. We don't have to necessarily read the next song. Let's see. Um, Maybe this is what we'll do. Usually at the end of the classes, all the classes, we would chant the dedication and the auspicious song. And the dedication is actually taken from one of Milarepa's songs. Maybe we can just look at it. So dedication is on page 40. Page 40 is a song that can be used as dedication. It's from chapter 55, Final Advice to the Students of Nyanang. Let's look at the story. When the Jesuit Milarepa was staying in the upper valley of Tsarma in Nyanang, several benefactors were fighting over the dowry of a new bride, so that they came to the Jesuit for mediation. Have all the people quarreling come to me, he told them. They came and he gave them lots of Dharma advice and sang songs of realization. They then asked Milarepa to make a dedication for them, and the Jesuit said, "Here, both the receiver of offerings and the benefactors have had pure, virtuous intention. Therefore, the dedication is present naturally. However, I will make a dedication to follow the example of the Buddha. You too should follow this example." Then he sang the song of realization. So let's see what he says. Gurus, yidams, which means the deities, an assembly of deities, please fulfill the good wishes of this dedication. I have the method of accomplishing Buddhahood for all assembled here without exception. So he's saying, thank you for making the offerings, and we want, and since you have made the offering, you have then, as a result, accumulated merit. And since I accept the offering, so I have created a means for you to accumulate merit, because giving itself is already meritorious and virtuous. But if the person that you're giving to is an enlightened person, then there's greater merit. So we dedicate that merit to all sentient beings. By dedicating it to all sentient beings, then the merit increases even more. Therefore, please act following my example. Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and Sangha too, please think of me, the virtue of sentient beings such as myself. he's saying, I'm just a regular sentient being. So the virtual sentient beings who practiced generosity, discipline, and so on. So the 6 paramitas, in short, generosity, discipline, diligence, patience, meditation, and prajna. So these practices, within great samsara, without any beginning, I rejoice in all these virtuous deeds. So whatever virtuous deeds, such as generosity and so on, I rejoice. By this virtue that I practice here, genuine generosity, the ornament and wealth of the mind, which is the accumulation of the yogi's merit, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of my masters, teachers, and parents. So he's dedicating all that virtue. Until that is attained, may my virtue here, while following a Mahayana guru, may you have a body where you keep the 3 vows, I think the 3 vows are the Pratimoksha vow, which is what Pratimoksha means, the individual liberation. These are the Theravada or Hinayana vows, and the Mahayana vow is the Bodhisattva vow, and the Vajrayana vow or Samaya, is the Vajrayana Samayas that you need to keep. So you need to keep all these 3. So may you have a body where you keep these vows. These are his dedications. May all wishes be accomplished, and may you not accumulate negativity with each other. Also by the merit of this virtue, with life, merit, prosperity, retinue, virtuous activity, and so forth in abundance, may the obstacles that cut the lifeline of liberation be completely pacified. So thus he sang, and signs of approval and well wishes came from the heavens. That's his dedication. So let's sing the dedication together. Lama yedang haso ye ngowe chengyo zedo so sona maru tamje ba sangye chuba chebe ta Ngala yube le mo se sangye chachum semba dang gende dala gong su su da so sem jen tam jie gi Tome kowa chenpo ne chendang su chen gombai gewa gi se jie yi rang tada gi be gewa yi Jimba Tamba Semgini Kendang Yojin Anjogi Zosu Gyode Pamadang Kemo Lobe Lasogi Chedo Sangye Toba Sho Mato Pado Dagedi Teche Nama Deneni Donsom Nebe Dusom De Ila deba kuncho ching pensun de so mi che sho 대양계 조스남기 세담스남롱죄당 고단계 조라소베 불송소바담지기 달배소자죄바이 발두죄바식교제. I forgot to ask if there are questions about the previous song that we sang with His Holiness, and this song also, the dedication. Any questions? No questions. Yeah.
I was wondering about the Milarepa saying that he had no illness, and I don't doubt it, but I wonder, even the greatest teachers' bodies do die. And say, I read that when the 16th Karma was dying, he had no pain. Or say, Tanka Rinpoche had his leg amputated without any anesthesia. And so is Milarepa saying here that there's no illness, or that great teachers, Buddhists, can ignore any illness? It doesn't feel painful to them.
I think it's both. In the case of Milarepa, because he was such a great yogi, and he's perfectly accomplished in the practice of the winds and the channels, which the unbalanced winds and channels can cause sicknesses, and the elements in the body. These are the causes of sicknesses. And because he was able to balance all of them, you remember in one of the songs is, "My winds don't come and go, and they're completely tamed." So he was literally saying he does not get sick at all. He cannot be sick. There's no reason, and there's no way he could possibly get sick. In the case of the teachers, the great teachers that we see here now living, they sometimes get sick, as we know. I think, living in this world and not, this is my own view, and I could be wrong, they are accomplished, no doubt, but sometimes it takes the practice of the winds and channels to really be able to balance the energies in the body so that you don't get sick. And I can't say that all these teachers have all been practicing diligent in these practices so that they don't get sick. I don't know. But we can think of their sicknesses as a display, because everybody else is getting sick, so I get sick too, I'm no exception. They like to be very, very ordinary, Yeah. I remember a story. I forget the name of the teacher of the great master. He was like, one day he's usually fine, but one day all of a sudden he got very sick, and attendants were like attending him and giving him medicine and blah blah blah, and he took them, and one day he just sat up and said, "I'm fine." It's like that. So. Okay, now finally we have the Milarepa's aspiration. And this is a short version. Let's first look at the English. So the aspiration is, Father who has fulfilled his aspirations, protector of beings, and that's Marpa, the translator. I bow down at your feet. all my disciples who have gathered here, listen to me. So he's, talking to his disciples. You have been kind to me. I have also been kind to you. Again, the word kind, is jin. So you've been very kind to me. Gajin che. Teacher and students have been kind to each other. May we meet in the realm of Abhirati. Abhirati is the realm of Akshobhya. So since Akshobhya is one of Milarepa's main practices, and his aspiration is to be reborn there, so he also, is making the aspiration that his students will also be reborn there. May this land be auspicious. May there be no sickness and war. May all who have seen my face and heard me speak, and who recollect my history, hear my name or story, meet me in the realm of Abhirati. So we have been studying and reading, and singing his songs. So we have made a very close connection with him. So his aspiration is, may we here and everybody else who have made a connection with him to be born in Abhirati.
Did you go out and give somebody a break? No. Okay. All right.
Was there a question? No? Okay. In the future, may those who are able to meditate because of the austerities I went through be free from all impediment and error. So this is the aspiration that I'm always very touched by. He says, because of all the austerities, all the hardships that I have gone through, may people practitioners in the future not have to go through any hardship at all, and no obstacles will occur to them, and they will practice without any mistake because of what I went through. In other words, may my austerity, all the hardships that I went through, take the place of all future generations' hardships and obstacles. So that is, very, very moving. May living creatures, insects, and so forth, not a single one of them fall into samsara. Also, because of my aspiration and all the hardships and difficulties I went through, may they not fall into samsara. May I lead them all to liberation. So luckily, again, we have his own 17th Karmapa composing the melody, and but not sung by him. It's sung by the Rongde Monastery chant leader, Omze. So we'll follow the chanting. Give me a second. And finally, we have the supplication to Minerva on the last page. We'll follow the chanting from the recording. I'd like to thank Vajra Vidya Portland. Thank you very much for inviting me. And it's been a great pleasure to share these songs of Milarepa with you. They're very inspiring. For me, it's of a great benefit to be able to read them and sing them again, especially with many good friends here who are also aspiring to be like him, right? I hope. I think, although maybe relatively speaking, it's difficult to do as he did, 100%. But I think it's important to, in our mind, as he says all the time, again and again, give up our attachment to things of this world. I think at least we can do that much. We can start from there. And then with that as basis, we can do very well. If we're still attached to things of the world, there'll be many things that will prevent us from doing good practice, prevent us from advancing in our path. So I think that's something we need to all look to Milarepa as a perfect example, giving up everything. And we can't literally give up everything, but in our mind, even if we possess things, even if we're still, getting more things, our mind is, at least less attached and less wanting than before, and gradually it'll become even less wanting and needing, and be very content with whatever we have. And our contentment is not just by having less things and fewer needs, but also it'll also, because of our practice, will come from, just like in the case of Milarepa, will come from our inner experiences from our practice, and that will be gradually, in greater proportion, be our greatest comfort and happiness. That's my hope for myself and for all of us here. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, all of you from a distance there. Thank you. And let's keep Milarepa in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Lama Lodro.
Thank you.
Closing.
Yes,
Thank you,
closing
Lama
prayers.
Lodro.
Thank you.
We'll do the closing prayers. Go to the last tab in the red book. Closing, and turn one page for the prayer for the swift return of Kenshin Trungpa Rinpoche. Through the pure, primal, pure, great bliss of the Dharma expanse and illusory play of appearance and emptiness unified, Vajradhara, you are the Lord of all existence and peace. Incomparable Guru, I prostrate at your feet. Great hero who protects helpless beings tormented in the deep oceans of samsara by the 100,000 sharks of afflictions and karma. Soul Father, Venerable Guru, I miss you now. Think of us, kind Lord of Dharma. Look at us, O teacher, lion of speech. The lamp of happiness for the teachings and beings has run out of oil. Now think of us with compassion. Your body of learning, venerability, and goodness grew to full strength. Your mane of listening, contemplation, and meditation touched the sky. Lion of speech, speaking date and composition. Lion of speech, we beg you, return soon. Come back soon, great being who preserves and spreads the golden thread of the fine traditions of teaching and practice of the Dakpo Kagyu among all the Kagyu, and the Karma Kamsang among all practice lineages. O hosts of Kagyu gurus in the realm of Akanishta, come forth like seeds spilling from a bushel of sesame, and invoke the venerable Guru's compassion. Make the moon of his emanation rise soon. Great, glorious Mahakala and Mahakali, 72 haughty spirits and your messengers, be the protectors who bring the young son of the supreme Nirmanakaya back to this realm. By the power of the truth, the ocean of gurus and three roots, and the fervent one-pointed faith of us disciples, may there be the unfailing cause and effect that fulfills all we ask for in its entirety. Now, long life prayers. Gyal kun ying je rong suk karma pa. Gyal kun trin le chik du karma pa. Gyal kun dung sop wang kur karma pa. Orgendrodal trinle shopten sol. Lama kukam angwa solwada. Chok tu kuse ringwa solwada. Trinle darshinge la solwada. Lama dangra wame parjinjilo. Palden lame shape ten padang. Kanyam yong la de ki jung wadang. Shen lama zok jang ne. Nyurdu sangye sala gur parshong. And the dedication of merit. Sanam de tam che zik panyu tovne ne pedra nam pam che ne ge ganachi balap truk pa yi si pe sole dro wa shon. Steve, use the mic so the Zoom people can hear you.
Yeah. So Lama Lodro is going to kindly join us for tea in a few moments. So please take tea and wait until we collectively offer the food and drink. And there'll be an opportunity before that if anyone has any individual offerings or kata they want to offer to come up to Lama Lodro. But first, I just wanted to thank you, Lama Lodro, for coming up. You unknowingly fulfilled one of the instructions that we had gotten from Trungpa Rinpoche years ago. He had said to study the realization songs like the songs of Milarepa. And infrequently, we do. And the reason for the infrequency is that we don't have commentaries like the kind you've provided. So to have someone with your experience and qualities come give eloquent commentary on these really vital teachings, we're all very grateful. So many thanks for coming. These are the offerings collectively from the online registration. Thank you. So anyone else who offer May?